Hello, friend, and welcome back to the Freedom Pivot podcast. This is Hannele, and today I'm speaking with Michelle Poverman. And I love this conversation because we speak the same language about intuition and the kind of business that starts from the inside out. Michelle helps high-achieving empath women entrepreneurs stop trying to fix themselves because there's nothing wrong with them. And there's nothing wrong with you. Now, here's Michelle with more words on that. Hello, Michelle, and
Hello.
welcome to the Freedom Pivot podcast.
Thank you so much for having me, Hannele. It's so happy to be here. So happy to share with you and you have such a cool topic right here. Like in your podcast, it's really inspiring. Like I'm loving this conversation about this pivot in life and the guests you're having. So I'm just honored. Thank you for having me. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. And it's so
Yeah.
good to meet you. It's been a while.
It has. I know it has. It has. Good to see your face.
I obviously know something about you, but maybe you'd like to introduce yourself and tell us
Sure.
something about your work.
Sure. So I'm Michelle Poverman. I feel like I'm like in a class. So I am a psychotherapist. I've been a psychotherapist for about 20 years. And I've shifted many times. And I think that's why you asked me to be on the show, is just because of the big shifts. But so I've been a psychotherapist for a while, and at one point, and we'll get into that, I'm sure, I started to become an energy healer. And there was a story in that really catapulted me into that, past that threshold. And then I spent about 10 years just really diving into the world of energy medicine. I did an energy medicine school for 3 years and just really dove into helping and healing on that deeper level. And now I'm in the throes of another, catapult. It's so interesting how these changes happen in our life because I think it very much feels like our cells, our whole body is like pushing us in a direction, and we can grind our feet, put a foot on the brake, but it just keeps coming back, right? And so I am now pivoting and turning into working with helping women really heal the wounds behind their business so that they can expand, because I'm really so excited about helping women in the world. I mean, if my job could be to help women in the world get powerful and make money and expand and self-actually, right? Like I mean, oh my God, that's a dream, right? So that is where I'm feeling drawn. And so right now I have a private practice, Sage and Stone Energy Therapy, but I am pivoting and have been for a while now, where I do programs and, do more group programs and things like that to really help women move the needle. And really, I'm excited right now because it's kind of in the works, but I'm about to launch another program just to just to like really address healing the wounds behind your business. Because as I think your listeners understand, how I understand, and I know you understand, that being an entrepreneur ain't for the faint of heart. Like it is not, right? And if there's anything that's going to hold a mirror up to your issues, it's this work, right? I really feel that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The spiritual path, I feel.
Yeah, yeah. So I really feel like I'm kind of situated between the world of psychology, spirituality, and, moving into this world of business. And it's just all about the becoming, the work of becoming, the work of expanding. To me, the baseline is that. And then whatever, little tools from the box I've collected along the way, that's really where I'm at and what I'm doing. And so it really excites me to work with women who are high achieving, because I think, we get each other. And I think we are our own little niche of ourself, because we have mechanisms in place. We have a certain wounding in place. We have some of the same core stuff that is pushing us and propelling us to our big, job here, what we're here to do, what our purpose is. And I think that if we don't attend to the wound, if we don't attend to the work and to, what we need to heal, then we don't really get to, really step into that purpose and actually put it into fruition, right?
Yeah, and get into that potential that we
Yeah.
all carry, but then the
Yeah.
wounds actually limit us.
Yeah. And a lot of the work that I've done with women over the years who struggle with any type of chronic illness. You know, it's really, I think, of all the autoimmune issues, 80% of them are women. And when we go dig deeper into that research, we see that not only 80% of them are women, but 80% of them are women who overgive, they hold back on their emotions. They don't express anger, all the things, overgiving, overextending, high achieving, some of them, a lot of them, but it's that autoimmune where we just are pushing, pushing, pushing. And I think what I found working with women who struggle with any type of chronic illness, and this isn't on the first session because, it can be a little off-putting, but I think we have to look at, and I'll ask them, you know, what are your attachments to being sick? How are you getting your needs met? Because we don't know how to get our needs met otherwise. And it's the same when you said limited potential. Like when I work with women who are sick, I notice they have burnt themselves out. And what I see is I'm sitting with women who have untapped potential. They have not expanded into their potential. And I think that it's possible that that makes us sick, that is a dis-ease in the body in itself to be here and not express ourselves in some way. So if we get really if we get really stuck for too long, I think it throws us into that, right? And so that's been a lot of the work too along the way. Um, yeah, but
Incredible, and you're so uniquely positioned to really attend those wounds because of your background. I think it's
yeah,
incredible.
yeah, I really, there's so many ways to heal.
Hmm.
There really are. There are so many ways. I mean, you could pick up 100 books on different ways of healing and be like, this one's for me. And I think that what's really cool, and I know you're finding this too, is that those people that are meant to be for us, those people that are drawn to us, are the people that find us, right? So I'm going to talk about wounds, and I'm going to talk about all the things that I'm good at, you know? And there are going to be listeners that are like, "Oh my gosh, right? That's me, that's me." And there's going to be like, "Oh yeah, I'm going to turn the station," right? It's like who we're tuning with, like tuning forks, right? We have the same frequency, you know?
Yeah, and there, I think we are maybe entering, or maybe we are already in the new era where I keep sensing and seeing this, that we are bringing kind of healing work in business. So it's not just like about well-being or
Yes.
something that you do on your own time, but it's really, and how we run businesses is how we heal in a way.
Mhm. Yeah. And this might be off-putting to some, and I don't mean to segregate, but I do wonder if there's a direct correlation to more and more women being in business, because I think that men are nurturing and intuitive as well, and we need the masculine and the feminine. They're extremely important. And actually, in our businesses, part of the things that I teach and talk about is that we need the masculine. It is the scaffolding that makes shit happen. Excuse me if I just swore, but it's what makes stuff happen, right? And we need that. And we also need the feminine. But I do believe that the feminine, the flow, the intuitive flow, the energy that we bring, the creativity, the that just that sense of that open-heartedness, that openness, that frequency that women bring, I think might be eventually now finally catching up,
Mm.
where we are having a stronger impact on the direction of where we're going in business, right? So yeah, I love that you pointed that out, because I do think that's true.
And it's about
What
time. It's
what
about
a
time.
great time. Yeah, what a great time to be alive, but what a great time to, I mean, obviously there's really horrible stuff happening right now, so I don't mean to, diss that, but it is a really beautiful time to be able, because while all this awful stuff is happening, there's also really beautiful things happening. And it's really important that we pay attention to them. If we spend all our time focused on the really hard, dark stuff that's happening, we are contributing to that vibration. We are contributing to the pain. If we live in pain and we are low in our vibration, we are contributing to the earth to be at that, to just be in that vibration. And it's really not that woo anymore to think that way. It's actually truth. And we actually have more science every day about it. And so, yeah, I truly believe it. And so, I loved what you had said. We had chatted, kind of via text and stuff, and you had talking about the freedom pivot,
Yes.
which is the whole beautiful basis and foundation of this podcast.
Mm.
And I think that when you had brought that up, I was like, oh, and you mentioned something in like, what do you think is freedom? And I was like, oh, what a big question, right?
Mm.
Like, I'm like, there's so many ways to go with that. Um, but it really sparked something in me. And I've been thinking about it for the last few days, even just like, would I have freedom? So before I even answer that, you probably want me to talk about where I
Yeah,
got.
I'd love to hear, like, what was there a moment that you
Yes.
call your own
Yes, because
freedom
this
pivot?
all,
Mm.
yeah. So like that really, made me start thinking about what were my freedom pivots and like what does it mean to me? So I'll just say for starters, why don't I just share my story this way?
Yeah.
One day I was out for a run. Um, and this was after I had left my job. I was a associate director of the counseling center for WPI, which is Worcester Polytechnic Institute. It's an engineering college in Massachusetts, and I thought I was going to like die there. Like I thought that I was going to, you know, that would be my retirement place because I absolutely loved it. And once I had my second child, it just started to disintegrate. Everything just, like I said, in my cells started to change. And everything was telling me I can't do this anymore. And it was very difficult for me to find the words to say that out loud. And it was scary, but I did. And it catapulted me into being home with my kids for a period of time. And for anybody who appreciates this, I am somebody that needs to use my brain. And I am somebody that needs to be in the depth of thinking and communicating. And I was not tapping into my potential anymore. And that sounds horrible. I love being a mom and I love being with my kids, but it was not my calling. I have a calling beyond that. And it was very difficult to not be tapping into it. And I think that's part of what was getting me really stuck was that I stopped for a little bit and I started getting unwell. But anyways, I was doing fine. And then one day I was out for a run and I live in a neighborhood that's all hills. So there are two really big hills, steep hills to get home. And I was out for a run and all of a sudden my right leg went numb. And as I kept hitting the pavement, it got number and number. And all of a sudden, it started to feel like I couldn't feel it. I couldn't stand on it. Like I was able to put some pressure on it. So I made it home. But in the moment, it was really freaky. I was like, oh my God, what's happening? I started panicking. And I'll share with you, I was walking, I was trying to get home. I literally was kind of dragging my leg and kind of hopping. And even in that moment of like being afraid of what was happening, not understanding, I felt that panic in me, right? It was almost like a little out of body. Even in that moment, when cars were passing by, especially as I got close to my neighborhood, I was embarrassed. I didn't call for help. I was like trying to pretend like this is not happening. Hi, waving at people. Like, oh my God. Like I was humiliated by what was happening and I couldn't stand out like that, right? I couldn't need help. That would be embarrassing. And so I was like dragging my whole leg home up these huge hills and only a couple cars passed. But you know how, but it was
If
just
you
such
were
a
a man, you probably would have stopped the car and please
I don't,
take me home.
yes, I would have been like stopped in the middle of the road and flagged the car down. But I was like, no, you cannot appear weak, right? You cannot appear weak. And so I made it home. Eventually, later in the day, I got feeling back. I got diagnosed with Lyme disease, and it was a crazy show from then on. It was like every day was a new symptom, some crazy things. I'd pass out of nowhere. I would have all these horrible, scary things happen. And I spent months just in bed and I had little babies. So it was really hard and it was really depressing and it was really alone. It was really a dark night of the soul, as they say. And there was a moment where it got really bad because I had a lot, my symptoms were getting kind of worse. I think the treatment makes everything worse. And so, and there was other issues that come with the Lyme. And my good friend called me up and she said, I have a healer. You need to see her tonight. It's my appointment. I waited 3 months for this appointment to get in and I'm giving it to you. And I was like, no, I don't need
I'm
that.
fine. I'm
I'm
fine.
fine. She's like, you're not effing fine. You're gonna go to this appointment. If I had to drag you there myself, I will show up and drive you. And I was like, it's okay, it's okay. So I went to this appointment. And this healer, she worked on me and she told me all sorts of things about myself that I had never heard, like you're an empath. And all these things that I was like, yeah, like my cells turned over in my body were like, we're listening. And she started telling me, like, this is your gifts and these are the things going on. And you need to, in order to get unsick, you need to step into your gifts. And I was like, wow, okay. And she's like, so tonight I have a Reiki class. And I was, at this point in my life, Hanalei, I was literally, I would drive to the mall and I would go to sleep in the car for like 45 minutes in order to go out into the mall to have the energy.
Mm.
And most of the time, I would literally go back. I wouldn't even leave the car. I'd turn around and drive 45 minutes home because I didn't have it in me. So I looked at her like, you're crazy. I'm not going to some nighttime Reiki class. And she was like, you have to come. So I signed up, I did it. And that night, everything changed. That class shifted everything for me. I walked out, got in my car, drove home, and on my way home, I started singing. And when I tell you I was singing, I mean like joyous, belting, like I was on American Idol. I was like the superstar, right? The whole way home. I have not had that kind of joy, that kind of expansive energy in my body since I got sick. And that moment taught me that there is a way out of even this. And it's through energy, and I've got to figure this out. And so from there, I signed up, went through and did all the levels and got my master in Reiki. And then I went on to a 3-year energy medicine school. And that's when, we had to do some really deep, hard work on our limiting beliefs, on the wounding we have, on like so much that I was like, as a therapist, I had already been working as a therapist for a long time and I wasn't doing this work. And like I was a mindfulness-based therapist. I was already really open to a lot of this stuff. I've really already always been open to energy. But this was everything was new and shiny and exciting. And I started my practice from there. And really it was interesting. The people in my field, fellow therapists were kind of like, you're doing what? You're going to be doing Reiki? And you'd think that therapists are like super, open people, but just like every human, they have their categories and their check boxes, and so it was like really it took a while to really fully step out of the spiritual closet, and to really let people know this is what I'm doing and to stand in it. And I think there's different levels to our spiritual closets, right? We have to walk through several thresholds before we truly own our gifts and our genius and what we're coded for here. And, that's what this process has been for me. And now I'm getting into a new code. I'm getting into a new level when I'm working with women in business because it's like, I think the last 3 or 4 years, I've been doing it in my private practice because I just keep showing up and the universe is saying, hello, this is what you're supposed to be doing. And then I leave and I'm excited and I'm high and I'm like, and so I'm really realizing that sensory experience of being pushed into your next level of potential, your next threshold to walk through, right? And it's kind of scary, but it's also really thrilling. I'm sure, you've experienced something similar,
Yeah.
even doing what you're doing now.
Mm. And I notice wishing every time that it would be easier, but it never is. It's just different, same, but different. There are
Mhm,
like different questions coming up and different wounds or different because it's like up leveling in a way, but then also like it goes deeper.
mhm,
That's my experience.
mhm.
Was it easier for you, or has it been easier this time compared to the energy healer pivot?
I think that no, probably not. Probably not. I think it's different because I know my stuff. I know what my stuff is. I know the parts of me that are trying to protect me. I know, the parts that are, afraid. And I have an idea now. I understand that I have this like wise woman inside of me that knows the way and can see it through, but I have to just calm and chill out all the parts of me that truly want to like freak out, be afraid, protect me. And so that's kind of a different language to use, but it's like sort of the framework that I'm looking at things in terms of how we grow and expand is partially we really have to quiet the inner children, right? We have to look at all the parts of us that are trying to protect us. And so because I have awareness of that, and that's what I think that we can say we can get to. I don't think we get to be, I think to be human is to be flawed, and to be human is to, right, is to struggle. We're never going to be without the struggle. But I think if we can get to a point where we can become more aware, we can put that struggle out quickly and we can maintain happiness better in some way, right? Like we can actually have the courage and we can actually take the action steps. And it takes a muscle, like to really do things that we're uncomfortable with, right? It's like going to the gym, like
Yeah.
you know, like I'm sure you figured that out too, where it's like, I mean, getting even you building this podcast
Mm,
was probably a muscle that you built over
yeah.
time.
Yeah, and it's how do you know, how do you separate what is fear and what is just like, because I think with intuition and intuitive work, it's sometimes it's a muscle to grow, to understand, is this just something that I need to get over with?
Mhm.
Or is it like, is it actually telling me that no, this is not the way, try
Yeah,
something else?
yeah, yeah. And I can shed a little light as I what I find helpful is to look at um, how intuition feels and looks differently than fear, because fear is an emotion. And so when you have fear, you're experiencing one, two, three, four emotions, and you're feeling, scared, dread. You have stories, right? Oh, all these things are going to happen to me. What if this happens? What if, what if, what if? None of that is intuition. So when intuition comes in and when intuition is trying to speak through you, it is clear. There's no emotion attached to it. And it's just information. And when we can get that, it's gold. Now, yes, do we get that and then assault it with fear and all our stories? Yes. But we have to learn to differentiate by saying, okay, the information came first. And if you feel a lot of fear, this is the other thing. If you feel a lot of fear, yet you still keep coming back to it, this is what intuition does. It repeats itself over and over and over again. And so if it's repeating itself, then it is your job to listen to it, right?
It's trying to find the channel that you're actually listening
Yeah.
to.
Yeah. You got to change the station, right? Off
Mm.
of fear. Yeah. 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 So, so then now that I'm in this place, I will say, when I'm thinking about when you asked about that freedom question, I was really curious to sit with that and like be like, what is this? And one of the things that I kind of came up with was the idea that, and I think it's helpful for me to think about when I think about freedom, my first thoughts were like, I want to be free to travel. I want to be free to create whatever I want. I want time and money freedom. That's a lot of what we're here for as entrepreneurs. We're here for the time and money freedom. And I think that that is the clear path, the clear thing our brain lights up at. That's what we want. That's going to make us happy. That's going to feel good. But then if I take it a step deeper, I think that internal freedom has to come first, because the freedom to be liberated from all the things we're talking about, right? To be liberated from our limited beliefs, to our shame stories, our shadow parts, right? To be liberated from them is I think actually more important. I don't know if we can enjoy the external world if we can't be liberated from our own pain stories, right? If we can't be free from them. And to take this a step forward, because it's like, whatever, there you are, wherever you go, there you are, right? That whole thing. But I think that if we took this a step high, deeper, I talk about this with my clients is this idea of an emotional set point. And this is something I had to truly work on. And listen, when I talk about this stuff, please understand I'm so freaking imperfect. Like I sound really good, like, oh wow, she really knows what she's talking about, I hope. But the reality is I am doing this work every day. There's nobody on a hierarchy here. There's nobody that's not experiencing pain and suffering. There's nobody. And so I just want to say that. But that being said, emotional set point. I want you to think about that, like emotional set point. You, me, we all have an emotional set point. And your brain, our brains aren't actually like they're not wired to sustain happiness off external factors. So they did a massive study and it showed like thousands of people are in this study, and it showed something called, they call it hedonic adaptation. And what it is, have you heard of that? So, what it is that they show that all these people had, all these wonderful things, won the lottery, lost the weight, did all these incredible things. But after the hit of the high was over, every single one of them returned back to baseline, however they reported feeling from the beginning. And even Abraham Hicks talks about this as well. I mean, there's a lot of people, I'm not alone here talking about this, but the idea that the mainstream world is looking at is saying, okay, so we really can't just make ourselves happier by external things. We need to look at, the things that actually change that set point, which are, they're saying, being more present in life, savoring with being with what is, learning that ability, the mindfulness piece, just being present, but really social connections. Like, do you feel in relationship with other people? Do you feel safe? And can you connect with other people? And the more you do that, and that's why having a tribe can change our emotional set point, right? But I want to take it another step, because what I believe in the work that I'm doing is like that I'm seeing is we need to change our frequency, our vibrational health. And so, like, in order to have a higher set point, right? I really think we need to learn to train our emotions and our brain to withstand feeling good. Like, you know what I'm saying? We have such a ceiling on this. And how we do one thing is how we do everything, right? So if you have a ceiling in your business, you have a ceiling in your internal world, right? Your ability, your worthiness, your lovability, your being enough. But it's like so interesting to me how we will sabotage a good time, right? Like you have a date night, you're going out with your husband maybe or your partner, and you pick a fight, right? You have a high and you cut it off. You only allow yourself to feel joy for so long. I don't know if you've experienced that or if you can relate, but that's most of our truths. That, like, just watch. Now that I said this, you're not gonna be able to unsee it. You're gonna watch yourself be like, oh my gosh, I was just in such a good mood 5 seconds ago. What happened? And you had a negative thought and you stopped being in a good mood. And I think in order to change our emotional set point, we need to start showing up and doing some disciplined work around how can this negative thought just came in to sabotage me. What is an emotion I could feel that'd be higher than this? Even if it's neutral, sometimes you just have to get back to neutral. But I think that's the work that a lot of us have to do when we show up in our lives, in our businesses, in our relationships, is how can I raise up my vibration? How can I heighten the level of emotions I'm willing to have for longer periods of time? Does that make sense?
That makes so much sense. And I love how you are combining this energy layer
Mm,
to the psychological concepts, or like this self-sabotaging or whatever it is underlying, and then how you actually, because otherwise without the energy work it's just something that we try to do in our minds maybe,
mhm,
and that can take a lot of work, and I don't know if that is actually that impactful if we try
mhm,
to just like be very conscious about our thoughts and then change
mhm.
your thoughts, but it's the energy that we need to change.
Yeah, and emotions are energy. And so, like, honestly, like sometimes I do something called emotion code, and it's a type of healing that basically you're moving stuck emotions that are in the body. And so we can come up with like an age, we can do something when you were like younger, like something happened and then an emotion got stuck, and then we can name that emotion and clear it. And so a lot of people don't understand that like their emotions that they're experiencing are energetic. They're energy. It's like your GPS system, right? So like whatever emotion you're having is like telling you where you're going, what you're doing, how you're going to be. And so really understanding that that's energetic. And if you can start to shift the quality of the emotions you have, you shift the quality of your vibration. And I just like to bring in the fact that like we can measure this. We actually have tools. You can actually see a picture of somebody's field and we can see how their energy looks around them. And I'm part of, I have been part in the past of the Association of Energy Psychology. And they have research and they do, they're associated with a lot of research and stuff. And they have, during some of the retreats I've done there and stuff, they'll show us these pictures of people's energy fields and what it looks like when somebody's angry, when it looks like when somebody's stressed. And their field is literally broken up into little tiny parts. And it's like, wow. And they actually even showed pictures of somebody with a cell phone in their backpack or like a kid with their cell phone in the backpack and how that affects their energy field and just the ways in which we can impact our field. But it really is interesting to see how these emotions that we're experiencing, right? And we get back to freedom, that these emotions we're experiencing, if we don't raise the quality of them, if we can't withstand them for longer, then our feeling free in the world to enjoy things will always come back to the same set point, right? And so we have to change the quality of our energetic emotions as well as our thoughts and all those things. But you
Mm.
made a good point. Like it's somatic, right? Too. And so that is part of the reason why when I made the shift from being a therapist into becoming an energy, quote unquote, energy therapist, right? When I started doing that stuff was because we need to include not just the mind and the body, but also our spirituality and our energy,
Mm.
right? And that all those things need to come into play when we release traumas and we do the things we do, right? To get
Yeah.
better.
What's been the response from your clients?
Oh, well, I'll tell you, my practice has been closed for 4.5 years because it's just there was not enough space because it was
Mm.
just people are hungry for this. And if you're out there in the world and this is something you're doing or this is something you want to do, um, it's really, I think the biggest hurdle is actually just getting people to know you exist.
Mm.
I think that the women who want to be energy healers tend to have a harder time, I think, sometimes marketing, have a harder time being with visibility and putting themselves out there. And so really, I think that is like the really biggest issue because people are hungry.
Yeah.
They want it. And it's also, like you said in the beginning, I think we're growing culturally and worldly. We are growing in terms of our associations with energy. And, shoot, now I hear we have aliens coming down soon. So, like we are experiencing so many things at a fast rate
Mm.
that, now is the time. So if you're
Yeah.
interested in shifting in this in any way, now is definitely the time. Yeah.
Mm. So how has your own story evolved throughout
Yeah.
this process? I mean, you described your life
Mhm.
when you were lying in the bed and then you
Yeah.
found Reiki and all of that. So how has your own story?
So I would say that I shifted and changed so much that, I mean, to start, when I was in eighth grade, my superlative in my yearbook, in my eighth grade yearbook, I found it later on in life, and it said to be a therapist and a crisis counselor. So I've always been me, right? And I think that's so rare, but it's just like a truth, right? But I have always been me, but I've always been somebody, and I still am, but I've always been somebody driving through the world with one foot in the gas and one foot in the brake. And my go-to is to freeze, avoid, hide. Those are my go-tos. And there was a point in time when I had thought about doing a podcast for 2 years, I should say. And the struggle was real. I could not get myself to say that I mean, I would literally sit up at night and just hear, you got to do this podcast. You got to do this podcast. And I honestly was like, who's going to want to listen to that? All the
Those
crazy
voices,
thoughts, right?
boring voices.
Those boring voices. They're so boring, But yeah, like I was so crippled by those voices that I didn't make a move for years. I created an entire online course. I signed up for Amy Porterfield, if you know her, and I made an entire online course at the end of 2020 because I couldn't do it during 2020 when everybody around me was making like millions of dollars, teaching people how to play piano online, right? Like I was like, this is the moment, but I really struggle with jumping in and freezing the moment. I really struggled with it. And I had always felt like I was behind. I'm always like, oh, now that it's over, I'm going to go jump in and do it. And now, ho hum, it's the time, the golden time has passed. And now I have so much more grace. And I think the more we allow ourselves to just be and less critical and all that, I think we have more, we can tap into our strengths more. We can access ourselves more. And so I personally now, I started the podcast. I'm 2 years in. I'm at like episode 110 or something.
Wow. What
And
made you finally do it? Was it the grace or?
I think what made me finally do it, I swear to God, I know it's like a switch went off. There's almost like so much hemming and hawing we can do until universe just says, "Okay, I'm taking over." Like there's just great, like
I've been
I've given
following
you,
this for a while now, so
yes. Can we just like, I'm done. I'm getting behind the wheel. And so honestly, it was like, how many people came up to me and said, you need to do a podcast. And I'd be like, oh yeah, ha ha ha. And then it was just like everything started happening. And I woke up one morning and I said to my husband, I'm going to do the podcast. He's like, you're going to do a podcast? What about? I was like, trust me, And so, here I am throwing the podcast together and I just did it. I don't know. It was almost like a train running through me.
mm,
And I got impulsive. I think that's what it is. It's almost like an impulsivity to it, where all of a sudden I was being really impulsive. And I was like, F it, I'm just doing it. And I started coming up with everything all in one day, right? Just like da 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 da, right? And just impulsively putting it together, hardly knowing what I was doing.
talking about masculine energy.
Right?
I'm going to do it.
Yes. Yes, I can have a very strong masculine part of myself where I get really, and then I have, I kind of teeter in either one, but the goal is to get to both, but it's like, it's hard. So yes. And then I freaked out, but I still showed up. To be honest, I'm a little ADD, right? So I was never diagnosed, but I just know it about myself and being a therapist. I was able to diagnose myself pretty early into my career. And what I realized is that, part of the wound of anybody who's a little ADD or a lot ADD is we don't feel smart. We have a wound inside us that says, I'm not smart enough.
Mm,
I don't follow through. And we know we're smart. That's not logical. What it is, at times when you have a hard time keeping up or you can't accomplish as much as somebody else with the same amount of time, or there's all this time blindness and all the things that kind of get us in the way. And so we feel very trapped in this idea that we can't do things, that we won't be able to follow through. And there's just a real shame wound in it. And on the outside, like my people that know me and love me would be like, what are you talking about? Like, you've done A, B, C, and you went to grad school, you did blah, blah. But in my inside, in my internal experience, I can't do that. It sounds like a disaster. It sounds like it's going to be really humiliating when I don't follow through with it. I'm going to start it and I'm not going to follow through with it. And at some point, I'm not going to be able to do it anymore. And so, you know how they say when you expand, you don't think you can, and then you just add one thing and then you expand that, and you
mm.
add one thing and you expand that until you just keep growing, growing, growing. And you're like, wow, I'm holding 15 things that 5 years ago I thought I would absolutely, positively never be able to do.
Mm,
And the podcast was one of those things.
mm,
And, it's, I'm still doing it and it's 2 years in. And so I'm really proud. And I'm also like, I'm learned a lesson about myself, and that if I just show up, not create all the crap around it, but
mm,
just actually just make it simple and just show up, and it will get done, and if I have to skip one, I think I've only skipped like 3 episodes, but if I have to skip one, like, okay, It's all right, right? Some guru told me absolutely do not skip a podcast episode, right? And so I have perfectionism, like a lot of ADD people, we have perfectionism in order to cope, right? And so I am like, okay, I cannot skip one. It's really important. And then the shame that came in the first time I skipped one. And then I was like, wait a minute, that's ridiculous.
Did
It's
anything
no,
happen?
nothing,
Nothing happened?
nothing happened. Nothing happened. So yeah, it was okay. You know, what
Mm,
was really funny is I skipped one a couple weeks ago, and it was the highest downloads I ever had the day. I mean, it was kind of crazy how many downloads I got that day.
interesting.
And I
Mm.
skipped, and I'm like, okay, I got you. Thank you, universe. I got you. I got the message, right? We just have to listen and pay attention, right?
Oh, that's so funny. This is
Yeah.
exactly what happens.
Yes, right? It's so what happens. We just so many times they're like hitting us over the head with, the magic and we just
Mm,
don't see it.
yeah.
Right? We miss it. We miss it.
Exactly. But your current pivot that you are now pivoting to working with women, entrepreneur women,
Mm.
how does it feel for you right now?
Oh, it feels like aliveness.
Mm,
It feels like a switch that has gone off, and I am, we are all, this is not me, we all have a genius zone. And we all, when we step into it, it lights us up. It is like we are made for certain things, and you're made for what you're doing, right? And I am made for this. And this didn't turn on until a couple of years ago as it started to percolate, right? It started showing up on my podcast a long time ago. Like as I started getting, I'm like, I can't stop talking about this. I'm like, oh, I'm going to talk about this really interesting psychological thing. I'm like, no, I got to get back to expansion. And I think that for all of us women in the world who are feeling drawn towards something, we wouldn't want it if it wasn't for us. There would be no connection to it if
mm,
it wasn't made to be in your path. We have free will, we get to decide. But if you're wanting something out there and it feels like, oh, that would be so awesome, right? If you don't feel, I don't feel that way about being a lawyer. I don't feel that way about owning a hot dog stand. I don't feel that way about anybody else's dreams. I only feel that way about the things that I'm drawn to. And the only reason why you are drawn to what you want is because it's for you.
mm,
And are you willing and able to step up and expand and show up for it, even though it's scary?
mm,
And that's all it really takes. And you can have what you want, I think. It really takes the ability to put yourself into discomfort and put yourself out there. But if you can just attach to what I'm saying and really like take my word for it, that if you really want something, if I want something, then I'm made for it, or I'd have zero interest in it. Do you know what I mean?
yeah. Yeah, and it's so beautifully put like this, you're made for it. There's something about those words that are really
Hmm.
like landing.
Yeah.
And also the fact to be able to look at your dreams like
Mhm.
you're made for your dreams, because
Yes.
so many times it's like, yeah, keep dreaming, but you have to do the work and be practical, and like like the dreams would be some fluffy
Yeah.
airy fairy things, but they are actually our intuition speaking to us in a way.
Hmm. Yeah, totally. And like depending on the generations before you, you got a lot of messaging around what
Mm.
you can just how, and all of it was to stay safe. All of the messaging that you got of like, yeah, we don't live in a dream world, we live in reality. And now we're realizing actually dream world is like real and it's in a field and we have access to it. Our unconscious lives there, right? So there's all this stuff going on, but I really think that if you want it, you're made for it. And if you're made for it, then it's not easy. It's just not easy, you know. I definitely have not. I'm at ease with the things that I've worked through that were hard.
Mm.
But everything is hard at some
Yeah.
point.
Yeah, and I feel that if it's uh, I'm not sure if life is supposed to be only easy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so different to actually get something or accomplish something or reach those dreams because
Hmm.
we have been working. It's like building and being kind of make it sustainable rather
Hmm.
than just getting what you want immediately and then you don't appreciate it that much
Hmm.
in a way.
Hmm.
Maybe I'm
Yeah.
just old school.
No, but I think that's just, well, I mean, when we look at all of the major religions and everything, all the culture, like everything, we understand that we are here suffering.
Yeah.
That is part of like, I think we signed up for knowing we were going to come down here and suffer. And we were like, oh, great. What a great experience. I'm going to learn so much. But I think we are here to suffer, and through the suffering and through the hard stuff, that's where really we crack open and we really, and I myself, that Lyme, that was dark. Like, just, I don't, it was a whole bunch of stuff. To be honest, one of the things that I really learned about that time was about my inner victim
Mm,
and how big she was and how in charge she was. And she still shows herself sometimes. And I'm like, oh, this is a poor me kind of thing I need to look at because, having done the work, it's safe for me to look at it.
mm,
I'm not feeling bad about myself because she shows up, right? It's my ability to say, oh, no, no, that's part of being human here.
yeah.
And I see most people who are spiraling in their lives have a really big victim,
Mm,
and they just haven't really been loved and tended
mm,
to and healed. And so, but that Lyme whole debacle was so much of my inner victim. And healing it was really about stepping into power and feeling safe again. And
mm,
that was really hard to do.
mm,
It seems crazy. It's not like I wasn't out in the world working and having a successful career and all those things. It just so happened that, when it just like took me down a couple pegs. It really just knocked me off my path. And I think when I healed in that process, I was really able to see that powerlessness is a big trigger for me. I think it
yeah.
is for a lot of us. And feeling powerless is something that's really attached to my inner victim.
Mm,
And I could marinate in that. I can blame and be resentful, right? I can sit there, or I can have some boundaries with myself, right? I think the boundaries we have, this is one of the lessons I learned, was the boundaries I have with myself are actually more important than the boundaries I have with other people,
mm,
because that's the only way that I can show up and have boundaries with other people is if I'm able to show up for myself and say yes and no and what do I want here, and let's
mm.
get back in alignment with that. And so, yeah.
Yeah, and I truly believe that because you have had those struggles and those wounds, you are able to understand people with the same wounds, and then that becomes part of your how you are the healer now.
Yes.
And it's not like you are perfect or you don't struggle yourself, but it's
Right.
like it's so different to understand those wounds having been in that situation yourself too.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't know where I'd be without them.
Yeah.
I don't think I'd be half as far down the road as I am without having had all the bad stuff, right?
Mm,
And had all the hard stuff and all the wounds. And I think that if we can see their value and we can
mm,
really understand them, then we can use them to our benefit.
yeah. Hmm.
You know,
What a perfect way to end. But before we go, I'd love to hear where can people, what are you currently working on, and where can people find more information about you and
oh,
how to
thank
work with you?
you. So, I'm sure you'll have a link to my
Yes.
website in your show notes. Right now, I'm working on a new program to help women entrepreneurs to really do the wound healing of their business, right? To really step into this healing that we've been talking about. And so that is in the works. I'm going to launch a small pocket program before I launch the big one in the fall. I'm going to launch a small one where, and I'm thinking about June 1st-ish. So just stay tuned. You can catch me on Instagram. I'm at Michelle Poverman everywhere. And yeah, you'll hear about it. And so I'm going to announce it on my podcast. My podcast is Into the Work, and I'm going to, probably do June 1st. I'm really excited about it. It's going to be a little bit more informal, just a way to get together and really start working through some of this stuff to start up leveling a bit, create a goal and go for it. So yeah, thank you for letting me
Sounds
share that.
wonderful. And I also highly recommend your podcast.
Oh, thank you.
So
Thank you so much.
it's a good one. Wow.
Yeah.
But thank you for coming here today, and it's been such a wonderful discussion and meeting you, of course.
Yeah, it's good to see you in person.
Yeah.
Hanale and I are in a group together, so we've never actually seen each other one-on-one.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
oh, such a gift. Thank you so
Yeah.
much, Hanale.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And
All right.
thank you for everybody for listening.